All right, so Randy's asking, is there any way to flatten a position here after 30 seconds if the trade is currently not in a profitable position? Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a video out there already, but that was really easy to do. Let's just whip it out real quick. All right, so I'm just going to start with a market entry order here because it doesn't matter about to this question. So you'll need an exit order, right? Right, remember, profit targets and stop losses are exit orders, right? So you need one or the other. So I'm just going to assume that you're probably working with a stop loss here. And so let's load up this more fancier stop loss here, right? The 10 tick stop loss with trailing and a break even here. Just so we have a bunch of other things going on. And all right, so what we're gonna do is switch over to the trailing actions tab here. All right, so we're gonna create a new trailing roll here. Yeah. All right, so give it whatever kind of name you want there. And so the trigger that we're going to use here is the profit or loss. There we go. And we can see it already defaults to a loss there. And you could leave it on currency if you wanted to. Just check to see, well, does it have at least $1 of loss, something like that. But but currency is always right. You never know what instrument you're trading and what the actual currency could be, because if you're doing the micros, right, you only could have like, I don't know, a 50-cent loss. So I always like to use ticks, right, because every instrument has ticks. And so if you have at least one tick of loss, there you go, right? And so with this, maybe one tick of loss, isn't worth canceling yet. So, using ticks, you could say something, okay, well, let's maybe make this a little more liberal and say something like, all right, I need at least 5 ticks of loss because that's a real serious loss, right? Whatever you consider as a real serious loss there, so you could kind of pad that a little bit. But to answer Randy's question, technically you would want to say, okay, if there's at least 1 tick of loss, all right, then you're in a losing position there. And so also, let's see, we need to switch over to the advanced tab here. And then also, there we go. So the add button. So we need to get back to the mode here, but on the add button, we're gonna add the interval trigger, right? And with the interval trigger, we can enable the middle option here, right, which has time-based intervals there. And there we go. So we have 30 seconds is the default time interval there, right? So there we go. So we have 2 triggers. One is, counting the time, and the other one, the profit or loss, is checking to see if we're in a loss here, right? So, and then the mode, let's see here. The mode needs to be, well, I guess, yeah, I mean, Randy hasn't really provided a ton of detail, so I'm going to say simultaneously. Yeah, so we'll check. So basically simultaneously well, let's see, let me think about that here. Yeah, okay, so the way the interval works is the interval will become true at 30 seconds and after. So as soon as 30 seconds hits, then this trigger is true. right? And it remains true. So then any time that the trade goes into a 1-tick loss, then both of these triggers are true simultaneously. Let's see. Yeah, so all of these modes, because we're only dealing with 2 different triggers, yeah, these modes won't change. Won't change the behavior any. Obviously, any will. So if you use the mode any, then all it takes is one of these, not both, but it just requires one of these triggers to become true. So you don't want to use any because we need both of these triggers, right, or both of these conditions to be true, right? So we need 30 seconds to have passed, and you need a 1-tick loss there. So actually, you know what? I take that back. In sequence would be incorrect as well, because in sequence means, okay, maybe the beginning, maybe like within 10 seconds, or usually as soon as a trade opens, usually there's a 1-tick loss right off the bat, right? Because of how the market fills you. So if you did in sequence, right, the profit or loss is probably going to become true within a few seconds. And then it's just a matter of waiting for the interval. And so at 30 seconds, if the profit or loss, had seen a loss, then, right, the first one, this first trigger, right, became true. And then the next one becomes true, and then that'll flatten your position. So, in other words, yeah, we don't want to use, well, we could use it in sequence, but not in this order. We would have to actually make sure that the profit or loss is underneath here. And I thought that was fixed. Yeah, so you can see the little blue line, so I should be able to drop it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, you just got to drop it really exactly. You got to make sure your mouse is on that blue line. Right, so now I have the interval at the top. So if we used in sequence, basically the 30 seconds has to count down first, and then BlackBird will be looking for, the 1-tick of loss. So in sequence would work, in this order where the interval's on top, the profit or loss is on the bottom. So, but we'll just keep it all simultaneously there. And so, all right, so we're done with the triggers. So next step is to go to the action and simply put it on flatten position. There we go. So the action will be to flatten that position. And there you have it. So you can just add this trailing roll to, to whatever else you have going on there. So now, right, so you can have a whole set of other complex trailing, capabilities there for your stop loss or whatnot, right? Or if you don't have a stop loss, you can add this exact same trailing roll, right, to your profit target. And BlackBird will do the same thing. So the key to this is getting the triggers set up here, right? So the interval, set it to 30 seconds or, whatever time count you want there. And then just use the profit or loss and look for at least 1 tick of loss.